It's another edition of the Creighton Basketball Newsletter, the video version. I'm John Niatawa with the Omaha World-Herald, here to talk the latest in Creighton basketball. There's plenty to get to. Obviously, it's going to be an eventful offseason. It's already been an eventful offseason. But I did want to, at least before we dive into what's new and what's next, take a look back. And that's what the sort of theme of this week's written newsletter was about. Trying to put into perspective, into context a little bit, the accomplishments and achievements of the Creighton team, the Creighton program over the last 2 years. I mean, some of you longtime Jays fans know that what Creighton has accomplished is it's really unprecedented. To think that this Creighton program would win a Big East championship, win a share of the Big East championship, finally break through and get to the Sweet 16 for the first time since 1974. Those are the big things, but the journey along the way had to be a blast for Creighton fans. I mean, you guys have dealt with some gut-wrenching losses and some moments where it felt like Creighton's kind of on the brink of maybe making a splash, certainly from a national perspective, and just not quite there. And this team, this core group of guys, they were able to do that, put together. Their resume is just really impressive. And I tried to kind of capture that in the written version of the newsletter. Did a little by the numbers, brought back some quotes from players and Coach McDermott over the last couple of years that I thought sort of summed up the story pretty well, the story of this team. So hope you enjoyed that. Like I said, what they did, I mean, there's just so many great games, great performances, standout moments over the last 2 years that, I mean, for me, as a journalist, it was just fun to witness and fun to document and chronicle. So I tried to sort of recap it as best I could in just a short amount of time there in this week's newsletter. So I hope you enjoy that. Now, on to what's next. Creighton, obviously, one of the reasons why you can look back is because it's sort of a break, a checkpoint. The chapter is over, and we're starting a new chapter. Maybe we're starting a new book. I don't know whatever analogy you want to go with here, but like the Jays are going to lose all 5 starters within the last week. Marcus Zagorowski confirmed that he's turning pro. Mitch Ballock confirmed that he's signing an agent and turning pro. And we already knew about Denzel Mahoney and Damian Jefferson going pro after 5 years of college ball. They're ready for the next step in their careers. Christian Bishop has announced that he's entered the transfer portal and since has announced that he's going to be transferring to Texas. So that's 5 starters, 5 guys who were part of this core group of Creighton players over the last 2 years that helped the program kind of take that next step. They're all gone. And so now Creighton has some reshuffling, some reloading, rebuilding perhaps to do this offseason. And on one hand, now I wrote about this a little bit last week. On one hand, there's work to do within the program and helping some of the reserves from last year's team, some of the guys who've been around the program a little bit, to ascend into more significant roles and to take on the leadership roles that are now left vacant. But then there's also a recruiting aspect to the offseason. And that's where the Jays are now. Maybe it starts with the coaching staff. Creighton's got to hire 2 assistant coaches. And I would imagine we'll hear some sort of news regarding that here shortly. But I'm recording this on the Monday. And as of this moment, nothing has been officially announced. Matter of fact, the Terrence Rencher departure, which I've reported he's expected to take a job at Oklahoma State, assistant coaching job, but that's not official yet. Paul Lusk has officially left and is joining Purdue's coaching staff, but Creighton's going to have 2 vacancies on its staff to fill, and where the Jays going to go with that. So I think obviously an emphasis on finding coaches that have maybe a specialty on the defensive side of the ball will be important. Finding some experience, I mean, the thing about Rencher and Lusk, they were both 2 really personable guys. Like good people that got along with everyone and they built strong relationships with players. So the Jays are going to need that. Not that they don't have that on staff already, but it's just like you kind of want to, if you lose one guy who's got these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, defining character traits, let's replace him with another guy who's got similar things. And I think Greg McDermott's done that especially over the last, this will be his fourth and fifth hires from an assistant coaching standpoint over the last 5 years. And I think you look at the track record of what he's done and who he's brought in, it's worked really well, and the staff's meshed together. So I'm really intrigued to see what route he's going to go. Do you draw from the Creighton basketball alumni pool? Do you branch out a little bit there? And so it's important, obviously, because at the moment, Creighton has 4 open roster spots. It needs guys out there on the road recruiting. You want to try to, if you can, in some form, capitalize on the momentum gained from the last 2 years, the success that the Jays have had on the court, and to sell that. And the transfer portal was popping. There's tons of talent in there, and Creighton has some playing time to offer. So because all 5 starters are gone, and yes, the Jays have some reserves, some veteran reserves are bringing back, and yes, they're adding 3 talented recruits: point guard Ryan Nemhard, shooting guard John Christopoulos. Those 2 are already signed. Mason Miller, a junior wing, like 6'9" type, probably a 3-4 versatile guy. He has not signed, but again, this is recording as on Monday. He hasn't signed at this point, but he committed, and he told me in an interview that he planned to do that soon. So that's 3 additions that are really quality. And they got a couple guys, Rati Andronikashvili and Modestas Kenchleris, both coming off injury. And if they can get healthy, you feel okay about the depth right now as it stands. But obviously with open roster spots, you want to try to fill those with talented pieces. So we'll see where the Jays go. I think they could stand to get some depth at the center position, and perhaps on the wing position, perhaps on the wing as well. So where they go to find talent, again, you can go transfer route, you can go overseas, internationally. Maybe there's still some high school prospects that are, whether they've decommitted or left their programs because of coaching changes or anything else, still in the pool. Maybe there's some guys who are thinking or considering about reclassifying, going to college early. There's always that this time of year is when those types of decisions get made. So I think Creighton's obviously going to do what it can. I mean, the Jays were already targeting a couple D2 big men who both had Creighton as a finalist. Cam Martin went to Kansas. Parker Fox went to Minnesota. So it shows you that the Jays are, they're definitely on the hunt for those guys were both D2 big men. So they were on the hunt for guys who could add some depth inside behind a guy like Ryan Kalkbrenner. So again, we'll see where it goes, but I'm sure there will be plenty to discuss as the weeks go on. New coaches, new players. The Jays are kind of in this transition mode, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to last long. And I know from the guys that are returning, how competitive they are, and now they got a taste of what success looks like. They're going to be really motivated to ensure that the drop off isn't as stark as some may predict. So we'll see how they work this offseason, and we'll see what guys Creighton can find to add into the mix. So appreciate you guys watching and reading. If you haven't yet subscribed to the newsletter, please do it. omaha.com/newsletter is really easy. Put that link in your browser, click the sign up button, and you'll get this weekly newsletter update in your email. I think every Tuesday. So it's been fun so far interacting with you guys in this space and coming up with different ways to share Creighton basketball info and insight. And I look forward to continuing it as this offseason unfolds. It's going to be a busy one. So appreciate you watching. I'm John Niatawa. Thanks.